let's drop a resample and let's set the length again to 0.01 and also generate a curve view attribute. And let's for now disable, let's hide other objects and also disable the ray. And I want to create sort of the same movement with the upwards motion in the middle. So I will go to my main LTG spread over here and find the, let's see, this initial noise. This is the one that's responsible for this upward motion, and I will just Control C and grab this and paste this over here after the resample. And let's take a look at the result. Let's see if this translates. So it does. And we can remember that we also scale this by the normalized age, so as they spawn they will have this upwards value of 0 and then just slowly increase over time. And I believe that we can also, let's set the high temp maybe way down, and let's judge some of these values with this ray on and also the geometry. Okay, so now hopefully you can kind of see what I'm going with over here, and just drop down the overall height. And also let's drop down the amplitude for the noise. So let's maybe set this to a value of 1 for now. And maybe increase the frequency since this lightning is going to be a little bit smaller. Just increase the frequency and maybe go back to the height. Let's disable the ray and just preview the animation a little bit. And let's just play this. Okay, let's grab the medium noise and the small noise as well and bring these over and see what we can do with this. So plug this here and let's see. Let's maybe just focus on the medium noise for now and increase the frequency and decrease the amplitude quite a bit. And let's take a look. I think this is working out surprisingly well, given that we just simply copied some nodes over. And I really don't want to spend too much time tweaking these values. But I think this is looking pretty good. And with the small noise, alright, so I'm actually pretty satisfied with this. Let's drop from here an attribute VOP and set the p-scale for this. So I will rename this to set p-scale. Let's go inside and I just simply want to map this on my curve view attribute. So let's import the curve view attribute and plug this into a ramp. Let's set this to a spline and also let's drop this into a multiply and then bind export to the p-scale. And for this multiply I will promote my second input here, and this will be the p-scale multiplier. Let's go back up, reset the ramp, and let's drop a polywire, or actually I want to copy the polywire with the settings that I want from over here. Copy this here, and let's preview this, and set the p-scale to 1, and then just drop this down. And I want this lightning to be a little bit bigger towards the end and smaller in the middle. So let's maybe start with a ramp, with a full ramp like this, and just create some more points to make the adjustments as necessary. And let's turn all of these in B-spline because it's my favorite, and try to make a smoother ramp here. So something that kind of makes sense visually. Maybe something like this, and then just decrease the p-scale a bit. So now if I turn on my ray and the geometry, it's kind of hard to see. Let's also copy this color, set CD, and copy this over here. So maybe with the color we can, still kind of hard to see. This will be a lot more noticeable in the render with the emission channel and all the glows and stuff. So let's maybe drop a null from here. So we said that this is going to be the LTG static, and maybe just go in the camera and make a preview, make a flipbook from this. Hopefully we can tell if this will work. Okay, so we can kind of see these tiny little worms swarming up on the geometry. So maybe this is too much of a low quality preview to really tell how this will look in the final render, but again, in the final comp inside of Nuke, we will be able to adjust these values even more, and we can pretty much specify how bright and how thick these will be during compositing, so we don't have to worry about this too much. We can kind of tell that this is going the way that it should. Alright, so this is our LTG static, and this is the final lightning effect that we are going to be creating. So let's encapsulate all of this with Shift O and bring this over here. And this is LTG static. Okay, and next we can take care of the volumetric rays. So before we start on our volumetric rays, let's perhaps cache all of these lighting effects first. So let's start with this LTG static one, and one important thing that we have to remember here is that we are using our low quality pieces for this transform pieces SOP. So over here, when we ray these points, or rather lines, to the ground, it's using the low quality version. Alright, so let's make sure that we are using the rendered version instead, and let's place this merge back in our transform pieces. So now we should have the high quality version, and this will ensure that the lightning static will have an accurate look, and it will stick to this ground. So from here, from my LTG static, I will drop down a file cache and I will cache this out. So let's disable version, and I think 150 frames should be okay. Let's choose a folder. I'll give this a name, so LTG static, and I will save to disk. So the LTG static is now cached, and let's just cache the other ones as well. I will grab this and place it over here. So for the LTG spread, let's see what frame range we are working with. So I believe this we can actually look at this fade p-scale, and we can see that we need to cache from 23 all the way up to 78. So over in this cache, I will just set the end range to 80, and for the name I will say LTG spread, and we can now cache this as well. Okay, so this is the LTG spread. And finally, let's drag this over, so duplicate this over here for our main LTG, and let's preview this. So we will need this from, let's go from the beginning of frame 1 over to, I think maybe 70. Okay, so set this to 70, and rename this to LTG strike, and cache this. Alright, so all of the lightning is now cached. Let's create our volumetric rays over here now.